In professional tennis, a doubles withdrawal usually produces a statement in under 2 hours. Tight hamstring. Precautionary. Thanks for understanding. That is the whole genre. It takes a press officer 90 seconds to write, and it goes out the same afternoon, because tournaments would rather give you a boring reason than let you invent an interesting one. And that is the slow channel. The fast channel is people. This is a sport where practice court gossip moves faster than match results. Agents talk. Physios talk. The person who schedules the practice courts talks. There are maybe 400 people who matter inside a tour week, and every one of them has a phone. On Saturday, Eala's name came off the DC Open doubles draw, and that entire machine produced absolutely nothing. No statement, no reason, no diagnosis, no source saying anything to anybody, on the record or off it. Ben Rothenberg is one of the most connected independent reporters covering this tour. He left the big outlets to run his own thing, and his entire value proposition is knowing what the tour would rather you did not know. He posted a picture of that draw sheet publicly and said he was trying to work out what was going on. That is a man with the sources holding the document, telling you he cannot explain it. Now, if you have been anywhere near tennis this weekend, you have already seen the takes. Venus dumped her. She got injured. There was a falling out. Everybody has a theory and everybody is arguing about which one is right. I am not going to do that video. There are 20 of those already and I have made one of them. Because I think everybody has been asking the wrong question. Everybody asked what happened to Eala. Almost nobody asked what happened to the information. And that is the actual mystery here. Not the withdrawal. The vacuum around it. In a sport this leaky, with a name this big, a hole that size is not supposed to be able to exist. Something has to explain why a communications department, a full press corps, a legend in a press conference, and one of the best-sourced reporters in the game all looked directly at the same event and generated a total of 0 facts about it. By the end of this, I am going to show you exactly why that hole is there. And I will tell you now, so you know where we are going. It is not a cover-up. Nobody is hiding anything. The explanation is stranger than a cover-up. And once you see it, you are going to notice it in every doubles story you read for the rest of the season. But to understand how abnormal this weekend was, you first have to know what is supposed to happen instead. Here is the timeline, fast, because you probably know most of it. July 17th, the Mubadala DC Open announces that Venus Williams and Eala are playing doubles together on a wild card. July 24th, the two of them practice at the tournament site, and the tournament films it. July 25th, the doubles draw is published. Venus Williams is listed with Diana Schneider. Eala is not in the draw at all. She is still in the singles draw where she plays Zheng Qinwen in the first round. 8 days. That is the whole event. Now here is how this is supposed to work. And I want to be specific, because the specifics are the entire argument. A WTA tournament runs on documents. The entry list comes out weeks ahead and tells you who intends to play. Then there is a sign-in deadline, a hard cutoff where players confirm. Then the draw is made and published. Then there is an alternate list, so that when somebody comes out, somebody else goes in. Every one of those stages generates paper. And paper is what journalism eats. Reporters do not need a leak when the tour publishes a new document every 12 hours. Sitting on top of that is a communications team. And this is the part people get wrong. Their job is not hiding things. Their job is controlling things. Any press officer will tell you the same thing. A withdrawal with no reason attached looks 10 times worse than a withdrawal with a boring medical reason attached. Give people a hamstring and they scroll past. Give people nothing and they build a conspiracy by lunchtime. So the incentive runs in one direction. Explain it, quickly, in the dullest possible language. Then there is the third layer, the human one. Reporters on site have credentials to the press room, access to the practice schedule, and relationships with agents built over years. Under normal conditions, those 3 inputs are enough to reconstruct almost anything by the end of the day. Not print it, necessarily. But know it. Documents. A press office with every reason to talk. A press corps with access. 3 systems, all pointed at the same event. And now think about whose name we are talking about. Because this matters more than anything I have said so far. Eala is 21 years old, from the Philippines, and she is ranked 28 in the world, the highest any Filipino woman has ever been. 3 weeks ago at Wimbledon, she beat Iga, the defending champion, and became the first Filipino player in history to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam. There is an entire country that reads every post she makes. Manila newsrooms staff her full-time. Her partner was Venus Williams. 7 singles majors, 14 doubles majors, 46 years old and still entering draws. This is not a player ranked 180 quietly falling off a qualifying list at a small event. This is arguably the most followed doubles pairing of the week at a WTA 500 inches the United States at the start of the biggest hard-court stretch of the year, with every American tennis outlet already on site. So, run the checklist. Hottest name on tour? Yes. Legendary partner? Yes. Major market event? Yes. Full press corps present? Yes. Communications department with a direct financial and reputational incentive to explain? Yes. Documents generated at every stage? Yes. Every single condition for this story coming out was in place. Every one. And what came out was nothing. Which is why I found this one so hard to let go of. And I suspect it is why you clicked. Not because of the drama. Because the mechanics do not work. Something in that sequence should have produced a sentence, and nothing did. If that is the part that has been nagging at you too, then stay with me, because the next section is where we actually map the shape of the whole, layer by layer. And I promise you, it gets weirder than a missing press release. If you want more breakdowns like this, where we take the machinery apart instead of guessing at motives, that is what this channel does. Because the deeper you go into how this story did not come out, the stranger the shape of the absence gets. Let us go layer by layer, because the shape of this absence is genuinely weird. Start with the tournament arguing with itself. Saturday morning, the doubles draw is live. It says Venus Williams and Diana Schneider. At the same moment, the DC Open homepage still had Venus Williams and Eala listed as a team. The practice video from Friday was still sitting on the tournament's own Instagram account. Same organization. 2 official channels. Publishing contradictory information at the same time. A communications team can delete a post in about 9 seconds. Why did nobody delete it? Not because they were hiding something. If you were hiding something, taking the promotion down would be the very first thing you do. Leaving it up is what happens when nobody has been told anything either. Hold that, because it comes back. Layer 2. And I want to be precise here, because people keep saying the tournament gave a vague explanation. They did not give a vague explanation. There was no statement at all. Not for personal reasons. Not precautionary. Not a scheduling adjustment. Blank. A WTA 500 event let a top 30 player disappear off a published draw without attaching a single sentence to it. And silence is not a default setting. Silence is a decision somebody in that building actively made, or actively failed to make, while 8 reporters were already asking. So who made it? And what were they protecting? Layer 3. And this is the one that broke my brain a little. There is exactly one word that came out of this entire event. One. And I want to look at it properly. Repaired. That is the word. Venus Williams repaired with Diana Schneider. It is in the Manila Times headline, in the aggregator copy, in the posts. Everybody used it. Now think about what kind of word that actually is. That is not a journalism word. No reporter naturally writes that a player repaired. You write that she split with, or dropped, or teamed up with instead, or was replaced by. Those are narrative verbs. They contain a direction and an actor. Repaired contains neither. It is a database word. It describes a field being updated in an entry system. It is what the operation looks like from inside the software, not what the event looks like from outside it. And notice how it traveled. Manila Times put it in quotation marks, which is what you do when you are borrowing somebody else's word, and you are not confident enough to own it. But whose word were they borrowing? Trace it backward, and it does not resolve. It is not attributed to the tournament. It is not attributed to the WTA. Nobody says a spokesperson used it. It simply appears, fully formed, and the entire tennis internet adopts it within a few hours. An entire news cycle ran on one word, and not one outlet can tell you who said it first. What kind of story does that? Layer 4. And this one gets skipped completely, which is strange, because it might be the loudest signal in the whole thing. Rothenberg posts the draw and says he is trying to work it out. Under normal conditions, that post is a starting gun. That is a well-sourced reporter publicly announcing an information gap, which is basically an invitation. Within hours, somebody usually fills it. A rival reporter with a different source posts the answer. An agent texts. Somebody in the player lounge says something to somebody. That is how tennis Twitter has worked for 15 years. More than a day went by. No follow-up. No correction. No competing scoop. Nobody stepped in with the reason, not even anonymously. It is one thing for a reporter not to have the answer at 9 in the morning. It is another thing for nobody in the entire sport to have it by the following evening. Layer 5. Both principals go quiet in exactly the same way. Venus takes the question in her press conference and gives an answer that runs about 9 seconds and contains no reason. Eala posts nothing. Her team posts nothing. Her federation posts nothing. And remember the context. There is a country watching. There are 3 Manila newsrooms whose editors were absolutely asking for a line. Nothing. From either side. In identical fashion. So, look at where we have arrived after all that. This was not a cover-up. Cover-ups require effort. And effort leaves fingerprints. Somebody scrubs a post. Somebody gets a talking point. Somebody's story changes between Saturday and Sunday. There is none of that here. The promotional material was still live, while the draw contradicted it, which is the opposite of a coordinated operation. And it was not an oversight either. The name is far too big. You do not overlook the woman who beat the defending Wimbledon champion 3 weeks ago. So we have a sport with 3 independent information systems, all functioning, all aimed at one event. All producing 0 output. And the only artifact anybody recovered is a single administrative word with no author. Which leaves one possibility that I have not seen anybody say out loud. What if the information system did not fail at all? What if it worked perfectly, and there was simply nothing in it to find? 3 things, and then a number. Start by putting this next to an ordinary withdrawal, because the contrast is the argument. When a player pulls out of a draw with an injury, here is the chain that fires. The player tells the tournament physio or the supervisor. A withdrawal is processed. A statement goes out with a body part named in it. An alternate is called in, and appears in the draw with a note. Reporters have a story within the hour, because there is a document, and a named cause, and somebody answers a question about it in a press conference, usually the tournament director, in about 11 words. That chain fires every single week, at every tournament, on the tour, and it is boring precisely because it works. Now run this weekend against it. No statement. No named cause. No injury mentioned by anybody, including Venus, who was standing right there and had every opportunity. No alternate announcement, because there was no withdrawal to replace. Just a draw that got made with a different name in it, and nobody able to answer the question when asked directly. 0 for 5. That is not a chain that broke somewhere in the middle. A broken chain leaves partial output. You get the statement, but not the diagnosis. You get the diagnosis, but not the alternate. Here you get nothing at any stage, which is what it looks like when the chain was never triggered at all. Second thing, look closely at the language Rothenberg actually used. Because journalists are precise about this in a way most people are not. He did not write that something was being hidden. He did not write that his sources had gone quiet, or that the tournament declined to comment, or that nobody was returning messages. Those are all standard phrasings, and every reporter reaches for them when they are being stonewalled, because being stonewalled is itself a story. And they want you to know it is happening. He wrote that it was an odd moment and that he was trying to figure it out. That is the language of somebody looking at an absence, not somebody hitting a wall. There is no antagonist in his sentence. Nobody is refusing him anything. He is describing confusion, not obstruction. And then the detail that seals it for me, the word he reached for was repaired. He used the database word, because when the only artifact in existence is a field that changed in an entry system, the only accurate thing you can describe is the operation. He was not being coy. He was describing the total sum of what existed to describe. Third thing, the symmetry of the silence, read as data instead of drama. When there is a conflict between two people, information leaks asymmetrically. It has to. One side has an interest in shaping the story before the other side does, so somebody's camp talks first. A friendly reporter gets a version. A source close to the player says something. Within a day, you have two competing accounts, and you can see the seam between them. That did not happen. Both sides went quiet in exactly the same way, at exactly the same time, and stayed there. Matching silence is not the signature of a fight. It is the signature of an event that neither party regarded as an event. So go back to where we started. The question at the top of this video was not what happened to Eala. It was what happened to the information. And the answer is that nothing happened to it. It was never created. Now, the number. Because if you are still here, you have earned this one. Let us do the thing nobody did all weekend. Count the confirmed events in this entire story. Not the takes, not the theories, the things that verifiably occurred. 1. On July 17th, the tournament announced the pairing with a wild card. 2. On July 24th, the two of them practiced together and it was filmed. 3. On July 25th, the published doubles draw listed Venus Williams with Diana Schneider. 4. In her press conference, Venus gave a 9-second answer that contained no reason. That is it. 4 events. 2 of them are social media posts. Now think about what has been built on top of those 4 facts since Saturday. Thousands of articles. Aggregator rewrites of aggregator rewrites. Reaction videos. Comment sections 100 entries deep with people angry at a 21-year-old or angry at a 46-year-old on behalf of a situation nobody has a single piece of documentation about. And yes, including this video. I want to be completely straight about that. Everything I have argued for the last 17 minutes is inference stacked on those same 4 facts. Better inference, I hope. Still inference. 4 events generated an entire news cycle. That is not a story about Eala. That is a portrait of what happens when the sports content machine meets a vacuum and refuses to let it stay empty. So nothing broke. Tennis journalism did not fail this weekend. It ran into a category of event it has no instrument for, and the rest of us filled the gap with guesses. Which means there is exactly one thing left that can put new facts into this story, and it is not a press release. So here is where I land. Ben Rothenberg was not baffled because somebody was hiding something. He was baffled because he was looking at a category of event that this sport has no instrument for recording. Nothing vanished. Nothing was ever created in the first place. The whole is not evidence of a scandal. The whole is just the shape a non-event makes when a marketing department has spent 8 days telling you it was an event. And I will say the honest part one more time. The tournament still has not released a reason. Neither has the WTA. Neither has either player. If a statement drops tomorrow that says something completely different, I will make that video too. And I will open it by telling you I got this one wrong. That is the deal. But there is only one thing that can put genuine new facts into this story now, and it is not a press office. It is a tennis match. Monday, Eala walks onto a hard court in Washington against Zheng Qinwen, Olympic gold medalist, former world number 4, Australian Open finalist in 2024, currently ranked 123, which tells you about her season and nothing whatsoever about her level. And she is in the draw on a wild card. That is the worst opening match available in that bracket, and Eala got it. After that, it is Toronto, starting August 1st. Then Cincinnati. Then the US Open in New York from August 30th. 6 weeks of actual tennis with actual scorelines and actual documents attached to every single one of them. And here is the thing about that. The second the first ball is struck on Monday, this entire vacuum fills up with real events again. Nobody argues about a draw sheet when there is a match to argue about. This whole story has only been able to exist because there has been no tennis to talk about for 3 weeks. That ends Monday afternoon. So that is what I am actually here for, and I would guess it is what you are here for too. Not the guessing, the swing. I am covering every match Eala plays between now and the last ball in New York, and I would rather spend those 6 weeks on things that happened than on things somebody inferred from a database word. If that is your speed as well, subscribing is how you get those instead of the next round of speculation. And before you go, I want the argument I raised earlier, because I do not think it is settled, and I do not think it is small. Should a tournament be promoting a doubles pairing this hard, with a wild card and a dream team graphic and a practice video on the official account, before the sign-in deadline, when either player can step away with one phone call and no penalty at all? Because if the answer is yes, then weekends like this one are just the cost of doing business, and the 21-year-old absorbs it. And if the answer is no, then somebody built the expectation, somebody profited from the attention, and somebody else paid for it. Tell me where you land. I read them.